Hello and welcome to Blue Army TV. I'm sitting here with Carlisle. Have beaten Halifax 2-0 at Brunton Park in what was a very run-of-the-mill, professional, I don't want to say easy, but easy performance. And yeah, look, fantastic for Luamba to get his first goal and his second in the same game. Was very, very unfortunate not to have a hat-trick. You know, that chance towards the end where he gets past two players fantastically in the box and just can't score. Another fantastic save for their keeper, who, you know, had a fantastic game. Without their keeper having the game he did, I think it could have been easily 3-4-5. But yeah, look, Halifax aren't an easy team to play. I know they lost recently to Truro, but before that they went on a really, really good run, and they were for a while the most informed team in the league. And you know, they had a very poor start to the season, but managed to pick it up. Halifax is not an easy game, and we made it look like one. It puts us top of the league with Rochdale's game with Scunthorpe being called off. So yeah, top of the league, Carlisle, after a very good performance, a decent win, and there's really not much to complain about. I think I was very happy with the starting 11. Very happy with the starting 11. I thought the front three or four, including Clark, is probably what I would choose as my first choice. And by that I mean Linney, Kelly, and Luamba with Clark at the 10. That's what I'd choose as my front four. And that's what it kind of is, because Clark does get forward a lot. It's pretty much a front four we play with. But yeah, behind that though, there was a little bit of change. McAdam rightfully came into the team after having, you know, two really, really good games in the league. And then obviously, I'm not sure whether he played against Reading. Reading is a very strange game in my mind. But after two fantastic substitute appearances in the league, he was rewarded with a league start. And I think he did very well. I think we won that game because of the midfield. I know Luamba had a fantastic game, and I know Kelly had a good game. Linney was a little bit quiet, but he didn't do anything wrong. Clark was brilliant again. But it's not the attackers that won that game for me. It was Gilead and McAdam, because we were winning everything in midfield. We were fantastic, and we were so much better than in the middle of the park, and it really, really showed. Onto the back line, Harper, Davis, obviously they're going to be our two starting fullbacks in a first choice 11. Feeney as captain, and then you've got Hayden starting, who then doesn't start because he gets injured in the warm up. Terrell Thomas comes into the team. Very interesting, by the way. I'll come on to talk about this later. That despite Terrell Thomas starting the game, Morgan Feeney was captain. That's a bit of a statement, but you know, that's not the point. Yeah, it was really unfortunate that we have Hayden getting injured in the build-up, and then Terrell Thomas gets injured about 5 minutes after coming back from injury. And from what I've heard, it's quite a long-term injury as well. At least a good 5-6 weeks, possibly more. So yeah. It meant that Jack Ellis, who originally coming in today wasn't even on the bench, had to play 84, 85 minutes. Well, possibly a lot more actually, with all of the added time added on. And I think he did very well. I think, weirdly, at the start of the season, maybe not at the start of the season, but I really like Jack Ellis. I really like him, and to me, he would be my choice instead of Hayden, because as good as Hayden's been recently, I've always thought that he does have a mistake in him, and Jack Ellis is a lot more stable in my opinion. So yeah, we played the majority of the game with Jack Ellis as a centre back. Didn't really put a foot wrong, and then obviously you've got Breeze in net. I say obviously, but coming into that game, it maybe wasn't as obvious as it usually is with Breeze. With Harry Lewis having seemingly a good game against Reading. I was a little bit worried that Harry Lewis was going to get the nod ahead of Breeze. I was glad that it didn't happen. And I think Breeze played very well. He didn't really have much to do, but everything he had to do, he did well. And that's why I like Breeze. And that's why I would have Breeze starting over Lewis every week. And that's that Lewis can have a good game. In fact, you could perhaps argue that Harry Lewis's ceiling, him on his best day might be better than Breeze on his best day, but I think Breeze is so much more consistent. I'd rather have a keeper that gives a 6 or 7 out of 10 every week than a keeper who can have a 10, then a 2, then a 10, then a 2. You don't have to be spectacular as a goalkeeper. Goalkeeping is maybe the only position on the pitch where saying that he's a boring goalkeeper is a compliment, because that's what you want from your keeper. You want boring, run-of-the-mill, doing everything well, and not really being noticed too much, and that's what Breeze is. But yeah, more on the performance. I think, spectacular in the midfield, and I'll include Conclark in that as well, instead of shoving him in with the front four. Gilead, McAdam, and Conclark, I think, were all really, really good in that game. It was a bit concerning to me. I realised it about at half time that Conclark and Gilead, two really good players in that game, their loan deals are up in January. Now, Conclark's already said that he wants to stay at this club beyond January and win the title with us. And to be honest, from Gilead's point of view, I'd imagine he probably wants that too. It's just whether Shrewsbury will think, oh, well, there's this fantastic midfielder we've got out on loan at the very top of the National League, and we're doing incredibly poor in League 2, maybe we'll want him back. But from Gilead's point of view, I'd imagine he'll probably want to stay at Carlisle. But yeah, fantastic. I think Kelly's fantastic, by the way. I know I've used that word a lot in this video, but Kelly's so underrated, and it was so difficult for him, and it's gone under the radar for him to displace Luke Armstrong, because Armstrong was having a very good season. Kelly comes in, and now Luke Armstrong gets 5-10 minutes off the bench max. It's weird. It's gone under the radar that just how much that shift has happened, because Luke Armstrong was easily our first choice striker for at least the start of the season, and Kelly's really replaced him. Kelly, for me, would be one of the first names in the team sheet. I'd say he gets more touches on his chest than he does with his actual feet, but he's fantastic at what he does in taking the ball down, passing it back to Conclark, or passing it wide to Linney, or wide to Luamba. And as well, he's such an aerial threat as well when it comes to set pieces that, he's great. For a number 9, he doesn't score many goals with his feet, but I think he's so valuable to that team. And I think it's about time he got recognition for that. He does everything you would want from a number 9, and he's a fantastic player. And it's so nice to say that after I've slated him for a year and a bit. I'm a very big believer in the best ability is availability, and that hasn't been the case with Georgie Kelly, and that's why I've criticised him a lot. I know it's not necessarily his fault, but it's the club's fault for having signed a player so injury prone, I suppose. But hopefully he's past that. It was a big spell of his career that he was out injured for. Hopefully he's past that now. And he looks like, touch wood, he has come through that, and he looks fit. He looks, for the first time in his Carlisle career, he looks fully on his game, and you can really tell because he plays really, really well every week. And as even when he was making appearances earlier on in this season or towards the end of last season, he was limited to a half or 60 minutes at most because you were scared for him to be injured. Whereas now, maybe it's because things aren't as demanding in the National League, and maybe his body can handle that. Or maybe it's something different they're doing in training. I don't know, but I'm less worried about Georgie Kelly now, and he's now becoming one of our star players, and it's really nice to see that after a very, I want to say up and down, but it's mostly just been down Carlisle career. It's nice to see him back on the up, is what I'm saying. And then obviously, I feel like I haven't spoken about him enough. He's by far the talking point of today, and that's Junior Luamba. So nice to see him finally get that goal. I've been a big fan of him since he came in, and I've always felt a bit like, I really like him, I really like what he does, but it's getting hard to justify starting ahead of maybe Williams, because Luamba started so many games as an attacker, and that's what our front three is. Linney, Luamba, and Kelly are all attacking players. They're not wingers as you get in a 4-4-2 that are, midfielders. They're very much attacking players, and for him to not have I don't think it was a goal or an assist so far this season. It was, not that I would criticise him too much for that, but it was getting apparent that he needed that first goal, and it's really nice to see him get that, and his second. And what a player he is. And again, that's been the kind of changed position in the front three, that right wing, between Adjiboy, Williams, Luamba, and I'd like to see Luamba be the one to going forward that we pick in as our strongest lineup. But yeah, apologies for uploading this video a day late again. It's just, driving back from Carlisle on a Tuesday night match, you get in at about 11 o'clock and, work the next day, well, today. So it's taken a while to get this video out, so I'm sorry about that, but yeah, I've got to go and talk about a game like this. It's been a while since winning has been, and I mean a while in terms of since the promotion season under Paul Simpson. It's so nice to have winning as what's expected. I remember going in at half-time during that Halifax game and being disappointed. We were 1-0 up, and we were by far the better team, and I was disappointed because we hadn't scored 2 or 3. Last season I'd have been over the moon with us being 1-0 down at half-time. Because, we might still get back into it. We're not 3 or 4 down like we usually are. And it's such a change in attitude, and I caught myself. I had to kind of give myself a bit of a shake and be like, we're winning. Stop being disappointed, But it's a testament to the team and the manager as well, just how, obviously it's a division lower, but how normalised winning at Carlisle has become, and it's really nice to see. It's really, really nice to see. And that's what this was, routine. But yeah, please let me know what you think in the comments. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and in a bit.